All right. Okay, so now you're going to have to educate me because I do not know exactly what sickle cell anemia is. If you could describe that, and whether it's a myth or whether it's true, is it only uh, African American people in our country or African people? Is it a disease that's ethnically targeted?
Yeah, so let me start with that question. Yeah, so it's predominantly, shall we say, among Black people, and Nigeria being having the most number of Black people in the world. So it has the largest amount and the most severe forms in Nigeria itself, but it's not restricted, confined to Black people. So darker skinned people, so the Arabs, the Indians. India is actually pretty big too with sickle cell disease. Hispanics too are affected by sickle cell disease, and of course you have the mixed races. So to some degree, you can have sickle cell disease mixed in there. But yeah, by far it's in Africa and by far it's in Nigeria. And to answer your first question, Gary, so primarily sickle cell disease is a genetic blood disorder, which means it's in the DNA, in which there's red blood cells are born with a sort of weakness. It has to do with the DNA again, a specific protein, amino acids, is replaced by another. And that tiny mutation makes the sickle cell, I want to use the word weak. Makes the red blood cell weak in a certain way so that once it's in the bloodstream and it's under pressure, that pressure could be an infection, that pressure could be dehydration, that pressure could be just a physical pressure. Maybe it's passing through a very tight blood vessel. Under circumstances of stress, like those I just mentioned, it ends up turning from a nice, round, flexible, rubbery ball, which is a red blood cell, into a shriveled up, hard, brittle cell called this, which is like it's sickle shaped, hence the term sickle cell. And because it's not rubbery, because it's not soft like the other one is, it tends to get stuck in the blood vessels, and another thing it does is that it tends to aggregate and accumulate and form a plug. So it blocks the blood vessel. And you can imagine once there's a blockage anywhere, the cells after the blockage tend to scream out, they cry out, they can even die. It's called inflammation and eventually death. And that's really what happens. We see a lot of kids, especially at the younger years, have swollen hands, swollen feet, swollen stomachs because of this constant blockage and release of the blood vessels. The other thing that can happen is that those cells, because they are weak, they could just spontaneously just erupt and break up and spill their contents. So therefore reducing the blood level, the hematocrits or the PCV, what we term PCV. So the average human being is supposed to have like around between 35 to 40% of red blood cells in their system. Just children with sickle cell disease, adults with sickle cell disease seem to have around 25. So we're looking at a difference of about a factor of at least 10. If you don't have enough blood in your body, there's a likely tendency that a lot of things can go wrong. A lot of things do go wrong, including you're always tired all the time, you're not growing like you should, you're not developing like you should, and you're more prone to certain diseases.
If your red blood cells are cut down by that amount, I could understand that you'd be tired, wouldn't have any strength, not able to work. And then, of course, that'll lead to a lot of psychological problems as well, because you can't keep up and you can't be the same as your peers. You can't contribute to your family. It's got to be a really tough thing to deal with.
Yeah.
And you have ways of helping people with that disorder. That's
right. Most definitely, yes. Most definitely, yes. I'm super excited about it because this is a problem that is affecting so many people around the world, and the smartest minds have looked into it, and they haven't been able to come up with very satisfactory results, certainly not for us in the third world countries. We found out that, so when we started looking into it, in fact, like I said, that was not our focus initially. Initially, we just started having kids come in with brain disorders. Since brain disorders was our focus, we started looking at them. Kids before the age of 10 would have 2, 3, sometimes 4 strokes before the age of 10. And so when we started looking into it, we saw that there were 4 main areas that they were weakened. And since our philosophy is to build strength where there is weakness, we said, okay, let's start addressing it. Number one was immune function. Number two was inflammation. Number three was free radical damage or oxidative stress, for which we use antioxidants. And number four is that almost globally, almost without exception, they all have very low levels of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas which the body produces to help to dilate and improve the health of the blood vessels. So if there's not enough nitric oxide, it means the blood vessels are tight. Therefore, the blood cells can't go through like they should, which of course causes problems. I mean, you don't want your blood, if your kidneys need blood, they need blood. You don't want to reduce the amount of blood they need by a factor of 2 or 3 when they should be having free flow of blood. And so so nitric oxide helps to do that. And so my initial thought was, let's just start from the top of the list and then work our way downwards. Let's see what strengthening the immune system does. And then if it doesn't work as well, we'll go on to the next one. To our surprise, Garey, using the supplement that we used, which is an extract from aloe vera, which has been known for its work with the immune system, we found radical, tremendous, remarkable, use whatever adjective you might want to use, but significant improvements in their quality of life. Everything from their fatigue, their energy levels, pain levels. They could go to school now. They could play soccer. They could do everything their peers were doing simply because we strengthened their immune systems.